We starting now. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على أمور الدنيا والدين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وآله وصحبه أجمعين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we reached Hadith number 250. Also, I spoke with Sheikh Muhammad al-Faruq this afternoon, and he gave a salam. He was very happy and pleased that we were able to continue the dawrah, and he said as soon as he's able to get clearance from the doctor, inshallah, he's going to reschedule and try to come through, inshallah ta'ala. He was saying that he was really prepared to come. He had brought some sweets and some gifts to give out to the tulab, and Khadar Allah ma sha fa'ala, he wasn't able to come. But he was very happy that we continued, and that we sent him some pictures of the dawrah and some video. And he was very happy to see that the students were here and busy. طيب. Hadith 250. Yes. The PDF, the English PDF or the Arabic? Arabic PDF. Let me see. Airdrop it. What book number is this? You gotta open the airdrop. Abdul Razak. I only see 2 people. Is it open? I don't see it. You gotta open it and make it. Oh, I see hers, yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, yeah, in the Arabic version, it's on page 160, Hadith 250. Ready? Oh, yeah. Well, you don't have nothing in front of you, man. No paper, no pen, and you on the wall, like. At least if you're going to be on the wall, have a paper or something. Yeah, I don't even know how to fake it. Like, you're going to get on the wall, have a pen like, yo, I'm busy.
I got ran over on my motorcycle. Longer you got to do a lot while you're
Tell her to open her airdrop. Open the airdrop. Welcome. Okay, we're starting. No more. طيب, so بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين على أمور الدنيا والدين وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد خاتم النبيين وآله وصحبه أجمعين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Hadith number 250. حدثنا علي بن حجر أخبرنا شريك عن عبد الملك بن عمير عن أبي سلمة عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أشعر كلمة تكلمت بها العرب كلمة اللبيد. The Prophet ﷺ, he was very pleased, and he said the most poetic statement that was ever said by an Arab was a statement of Labid, or the best of the poetry that was ever said by an Arab was a statement of Labid. And he said, "Ala kullu shay'in ma khala Allahu batilu." Now, Labid is a very beautiful story about Labid that we have to take a little bit to know about him, because his story is beautiful. Labid was a poet who they said his poetry was so beautiful that he was even counted to be from amongst the poets of the Mu'allaqa. That his poetry used to be placed and tied on top of the Kaaba. I mean, placed on the door of the Kaaba, that people used to brag about. This was the poetry of Labid. When Labid became a Muslim, he stopped writing poetry. He said, "I don't need any poetry anymore. The only poet, I have the Quran now." And they used to beg him for poetry, and he wouldn't write poetry anymore. He wouldn't even say his old lines. He became Muslim, and after that, all he wanted was to read the Quran. But he did have a line of poetry. He says, "Ala kulli shay'in ma khala Allahu batilu." Everything besides Allah is going to vanish and perish, and it's of no good. And the Prophet ﷺ used to love that line. Hadith number 251. حديث number 251. حدثنا أحمد بن منيع أخبرنا مروان بن معاوية عن عبد الله بن عبد الرحمن الطائفي عن عمرو بن شريد عن أبيه رضي الله عنه قال: كنت ردف رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فأنشدته 100 فاقية من قول أمية بن أبي صلت. كلما أنشدته بيتا قال لي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: هيه حتى أنشدته 100 يعني بيتا. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن كاد ليسلم. The Prophet ﷺ was talking about Umayyah ibn Abi Salt, and he was a man who, during the times of Jahiliyyah, he used to write poetry that, used to sound like Islamic poetry, meaning that he used to have tawheed in it. He used to talk about the oneness of Allah. So the Prophet ﷺ said, and he reached the time of Islam, but he never became a Muslim. So the Prophet ﷺ used to say that he almost became a Muslim. He almost became a Muslim, but Allah didn't guide him. Hadith number 252. حدثنا إسماعيل بن موسى الفزاري وعلي بن حجر والمعنى واحد قال أخبرنا عبد الرحمن بن أبي الزناد عن هشام بن عروة عن أبيه عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت: كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يضع لحسان بن ثابت منبرا في المسجد يقوم عليه قائما يفاخر عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، أو قالت ينافح عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم، ويقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: إن الله تعالى يؤيد حسان بروح القدس ما ينافح أو يفاخر عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. This is a statement of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. He used to set up a place, a pulpit basically, for Hassan bin Thabit to stand up on it and read poetry that he used to use to defend the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. And the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to say that Allah would aid him with Ruh al-Qudus as long as he was saying poetry in defense of of the Prophet ﷺ. Hassan bin Thabit, they said he lived 120 years, 60 years in Jahiliyyah and 60 years in Islam. He lived 120 years. Hadith number 252. حدثنا إسماعيل بن موسى الفزاري وعلي بن حجر قال أخبرنا عبد الرحمن بن أبي زناد عن أبيه عن أروة عن عائشة رضي الله عنها عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مثله. Same narration. The chapter of Babu ma jaa fi sifati kalami Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fi samar. The chapter of the speech of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at nighttime. The speech he used to have at nighttime. The speech of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam normally at nighttime was not with anyone except for his wives. At nighttime, normally, he would cut off conversation after Isha, and he would, for the most part, the Prophet ﷺ slept early. He would sleep after Isha. So he would sleep after Isha, then wake up in the middle part of the night, and then pray, and then if he wanted to, talk or engage with his wives even more, he would talk and engage with them more before the time of Fajr. So the Prophet ﷺ normally would sleep earlier, and if he did have talk after that, he goes back, then he would talk with his wives, and sometimes he would even talk with all of the wives at nighttime in one house. At nighttime he would talk with them all, chill, relax with all of them, tell some stories, joke with them, all in one house at nighttime. Babu ma jaa fi sifati kalami Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fi samar. So this is the chapter of the talk of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at nighttime. Hadith number 253. حدثنا الحسن بن صباح البزار حدثنا أبو النضر حدثنا أبو عقيل الثقفي عبد الله بن عقيل عن مجالد عن الشعبي عن مسروق عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت حدث رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات ليلة نساءه حديثا فقالت امرأة منهن كأن الحديث حديث خرافة فقال أتدرون ما خرافة إن خرافة كان رجلا من عذرة أسرته الجن في الجاهلية فمكث فيهم دهرا ثم ردوه إلى الإنس فكان يحدث الناس بما رأى فيهم من الأعاجب فقال الناس حديث خرافة. This narration, it says that the Prophet ﷺ, he was with his wives that one night and he was telling them a story. And he was telling them such a story that was amazing to them. So one of the wives from amongst his wives, they said to him, wow, that's like a story, that story is like the story of Khurafa. So the Prophet ﷺ, he asked her, do you even know who Khurafa is? Do you really know his story? So he told them, he began to tell them that Khurafa was a man from amongst the jinn. He was a man from amongst the human beings. And the jinn stole him. Be quiet, you young boys, before maybe the jinn might steal you. So you want to be quiet, right? And listen to what happened to him. So the jinn stole him one night and they kept him with him. So he saw so many amazing things with the jinn. The jinn were doing so, the word of the jinn, they had him with him. So eventually they gave him back to the humans. They freed him and let him go back to the humans. And when he came back to the humans, he used to tell people some of the stories that he saw with the jinn. So then it became known that whenever they heard an amazing story that was like an unbelievable story, they would say, man, that's like the story of Khurafa. Like, who can believe that? And even now to this day, it's known amongst the Arabs that whenever they want to talk about something that's like, yeah, that's some Khurafat. Like that. Who's going to believe that? Those made-up stories of Sufis telling Khurafat. And that's where that word comes from. Now, Babu Hadithu Ummi Zar'. This hadith is a very long hadith, and because it's so long, subhanallah, and the benefits that is in this hadith are amazing, with a capital G at the end. We may have to one day, if Allah grants us success, give a seminar, maybe a 2-day or 1-day seminar, just on this hadith of Zar', because we can't explain it now. It's too much is in depth. Or maybe I know one Sheikh Farouk Post, he wrote a very amazing book in regards to this. Maybe one day we can have him come and explain this hadith. Inshallah, if Allah grants us success. For this hadith of Zar', we'll read it, and we'll read it basically, but we won't go into too much details about it at the moment. Hadith number 254. حدثنا علي بن حجر أخبرنا عيسى بن يونس عن هشام بن عروة عن أخيه عبد الله بن عروة عن عروة عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت جلس 11 امرأة فتعاهدنا وتعاقدنا أن لا يكتمن من أخبار أزواجهن شيئا فقالت الأولى زوجي لحم جمل غث على رأس جبل وعر لا سهل فيرتقى ولا سميم فينتقى قالت الثانية we'll do it line by line because of this. In the first line, it says that there were 11 women. Aisha's telling the story. Who is she telling the story to? Do you know? Do you know? Anyone know? What'd you say? What? She was telling the story to the Prophet ﷺ. So, she's telling him a story. And she said there was 11 women. And these women, they sat to talk about, and they made a promise that we're going to tell each other the truth about something, about information about what? About our husbands. Now, we learn an important benefit here in Islam, that is it permissible for the women to sit together and decide that we're going to talk about our husbands right now? Is that permissible? What do you say, Sheikh Uwais? Yes, permissible? No, it's not. So the scholars, they say that from this story, this is a story that Aisha told the Prophet was something that happened before Islam. But it doesn't mean that it's permissible for the ladies to go and say, oh, let's go do that now, right? No, that's not Islam. And Islam is not something that's permissible for the ladies to do this, to just sit and gossip. Right? So, but these ladies, there's benefit in this story. These ladies, they sat and they said, we're going to sit and talk about our husbands, and everyone has to promise that they're going to say only the truth, right? They're only going to say the truth. and they're not going to make up anything. طيب? So the first lady, she says, my husband is like the meat of a scrawny camel, which is kept on the top of a mountain, which is neither easy to climb, nor is the meat fleshy enough for it to be carried away by people to eat. So she's saying, she's describing her husband in a way, and this is very poetic Arabic, but she's describing her husband in a way to say he's like the meat of a scrawny camel with little meat on his bones, right? And it's not good meat even. So, and not alone, he doesn't have a lot of meat on his bones, but also he's on the top of a high mountain, meaning that, he has no real benefit to him. And if there was any benefit to him, it's so difficult to get the benefit from him that it's not even worth it. But he's my husband, still with him, No benefit in him, And the little bit of benefit that he does have is too difficult to get any of it from him. But still my husband. You're going to learn something too about this, right? We're going to tell you, you ladies, something about this later too. طيب. The second lady, she said, زوجي لا أطيل خبره إني أخاف أن لا أذره إن أذكر عجره وبجره. So she said this in a line like poetry. She said, my husband, I don't want to tell any information about him for fear that I might not be able to finish when I finish with him. For if I mention him, I shall mention his apparent and his hidden defects. She's saying that he has so many problems, apparent things that people can see, like his physical defects, and things that people don't even know about him. Just too many problems, all right? If I start, we're not going to be able to finish. And he just got issues. Again, he has some bad, a lot of bad, right? But she's still his wife, right? Allahu musta'an. We're going to learn something about this. Remind me at the end. قالت الثالثة زوجي العشنق إن أنتق أطلق وإن أسكت أعلق. She said, the third lady, she said, my husband is extremely tall and bad-mannered. If I speak about his faults, I'll be divorced. And if I remain silent, I'm left hanging. So she's like, it's not a win-win situation. Like, either way, I'm going to lose. If I talk about him, he's going to divorce me. And if I remain silent, he's just going to leave me there anyway. So I'm just in the middle. Again, she's mentioning what? Good or bad qualities? Good or bad qualities? Bad qualities. طيب. قالت الرابعة زوجي كليل التهامة لا حر ولا فر ولا مخافة ولا سامة. The fourth lady, she said, my husband is moderate like the night of Tihama. And the Tihama Mountains, a string of mountains in the Arab Peninsula, is well known for its cool nights. She said, which is neither extremely hot nor cold, neither fearful nor boring. She mentioned her husband, if he's just a regular, nothing really exciting about him, but he doesn't bother me either. He's just relaxed. Nothing like crazy, but he's not a bad guy, but he's not an exciting guy either, right? He's just regular. قالت الخامسة زوجي إن دخل فهد وإن خرج أسد ولا يسأل عما عهد. The fifth lady said, if my husband enters into the house, he pounces like a leopard. And if he leaves, he is bold like a lion and does not ask about whatever happened to his wealth. So this lady, she's describing her husband as being a leopard. If you know anything about a leopard, how does a leopard attack? Anyone know? Huh? It's quiet, right? You don't even know he's in the house, basically she's saying. When he comes in the house, he's cool. He's quiet. He's not yelling and screaming. He comes in the house, he does his thing quietly. But when he leaves, he's a man amongst men, right? Can't nobody punk him. He's not a punk. But when he's in the house, he's quiet, relaxed. Don't bother him. When he leaves the house, he's like a lion. And, he doesn't ask. He's generous. He doesn't ask her about what he did with his wealth. It doesn't bother him. Doesn't bother him. The sixth lady, she says, قالت السادسة زوجي إن أكل لف وإن شرب شف وإن اضطجع التف ولا يولج الكف ليعلم البث. You see the poetic way of the ladies' speech? Now, you learn something too about the Arab ladies, and this is something that women could take a consideration. That these ladies are not talking fahish. Even though they're talking about their husbands, and even still, they're not talking bad. They're not, he's a lazy bum. They're using poetic, even like the words they're using is nice to an extent, like it's poetic when you hear it, right? And that shows you that women, regardless of what they're doing, they always have a level of modesty with them. That the nature of women, regardless of what they're involved in, they always have some type of dignity and niceness with them. They're talking in a nice, they're not cursing and swearing, they're not talking rude, and another benefit you learn, they're not saying this in front of their husbands. They're talking with their girls. They relaxed. They chilling, right? Eloquent, right? And that tells you that you got to always have good talk. A girl should never be caught. No, that's not ladylike. Cursing, loud speech, not ladylike. The women have to notice and learn this. That even when describing, look, some of these ladies have the worst husband describable. And she describes him in a way that they hint to his bad character. They hint to it, and a person can understand, or what they call infer from it, but they're not talking clearly obscene talk. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? That's a fatty. Call it to Sadisa. She said, the sixth lady, she said, my husband, if he eats excessively. He's like a glutton. He don't stop eating. Eat up all the food in the house at one time. If he drinks all of it. And if he lies down and sleeps, he wraps himself up, and he does not feel his palm inside of my clothes and know my sorrow. He goes to sleep. He don't even think about her, basically. So he comes, eats all the food, drinks all the juice. Ain't no juicy juice left, right? He didn't drink all the juicy juice. And then what? Fall asleep and don't even look her way. She like, yo, I'm just here. I'm just here. The seventh lady, she says, Zawji ayaya'u aw ghayaya'u tabaqa'u kullu da'i lahu da'un shajjaki aw fallaki aw jama'a kullan laki. She says, my husband is incompetent. He's an idiot. That's what she says. You know, he can't do nothing. He's misguided. He's foolish. He's impotent. Impotent. He is sick with every sickness. He got every disease that you could think about. He's sick. He's always sick. He can't be healthy. He can't do nothing. Bad manners. Every disease, meaning anything that person can have, not just, physical disease, but even mannerisms. And if he beats, he'll cause injury to your skull or break your bones or do both to you. So not only is he like, sickly old man or whatever, he's foolish. He can't, he's not able to help her to have children, but he still want to beat her. He don't have nothing going on. He's weak and sick and frail, and then he beat, but he knows how to beat the lady good. Beat her and break her bones even. SubhanAllah. But SubhanAllah, that's all he know how to do. The eighth lady says, قالت الثامنة زوجي المس مس أرنب والريح ريح زرنب. She says, my husband has the law. Notice, she says, my husband's touch is the soft touch of a rabbit. And his scent is like the scent of a sweet-smelling perfume. So she's saying good about him. He's just a good guy. He's soft touch, soft manners, and he has good smell even. The ninth lady, she says, Zawji rafi'ul imadi azimur ramadi tawilun nijadi qaribul bayti minan nadi. She says, my husband has the loftiest of house, big, beautiful house, high house. She said he's of tall stature, tall, nice guy, right? Is abundantly hospitable. When he has a guest, he treats the guest the best of ways, and has a house close to the people's assembly, and he has a house that's close to the middle of the city. And that's normally like the person who normally now, down to, even living downtown is more expensive. Why? Because you don't have to go far. It's the middle of the city. Everyone knows that's always, the most expensive living. Lofts, nah. Now, so we're going into good catch. Now we have talking about people who have good husbands soon, right? So what did you know about all the ladies with these bad, terrible husbands?
They were patient.
They still was married. SubhanAllah, a lady today, unfortunately, if the husband, he don't bring the right grocery home, she asks for the khula. These ladies were going through problems. But what was why they were patient? Not just because, we're not saying a woman should be patient with a terrible husband, right? He's beating you, breaking your bones and stuff. No, you shouldn't be patient with that. But why were they patient? So you understand the way of the Arabs. Do you know why they were patient with this type of husband? Do you know why? Anyone? Anyone? I'll tell you. Two things for the most part. One, it's not common for a woman to want to be with more than one man. That's what we have to. Today we live in a very backwards time where women look at, they feel like they have options. Seriously. It is not common for a woman to want that. A woman, before, even, in our parents' times, a woman would stick with us because it's not common for a woman to want to be with more than one man. One man for a woman throughout her lifetime is normally all she ever wants. For a woman to want to be with 5, 10, 15, men, like some of the kuffar women and some other people they do, right? That's not normal. That is horrendous. A girl should be terrified of having to not be with the same husband for the rest of her life. That should be the most frightening thing for a woman, that another man would have to get to know her, right? That's terrifying for a woman. Do we understand what I'm saying? Now, that was one reason. That is not common. So women, they would rather be patient than you don't know. It shows you a wisdom also. Where they say, the grass is not always greener on the other side. So these women, they're talking about a situation, and look, one says something, and another one has even a worse situation. One says something, and another has even a worse situation. So the women were wise enough to know that just because I might be going through a bad situation, it doesn't mean that Zayd and Amr, just because they look nice, might treat me better. All right? Does that make sense or no? So they're patient, and they don't know. If I divorce him or I get divorced from him, who knows what's going to happen in the next marriage? That's another reason. And another reason was that women knew that if they became divorced, again, another issue we have with today, and this is the men's fault. It's the men's fault, is that we don't take care of our women the way we're supposed to. Where men today, they allow the woman to go to work, right? So once you allow the woman to go to work, what does that lead? What does that teach her? What does that teach her? Or if you let the lady, she has the government's taking care of her, so you're married to her, but the government pays the rent and gives her the food stamps, right? And that, and then of course the insurance. So what does she look at you as? What are you really here for? Seriously, right? I mean, I can do this on my own. I really have no need for you. And then I'll keep my children because they'll give me more money for each child, right? So she looks at the man now like, the littlest mistake he does, she looks at it like, I don't need you, because at the end of the day, you're not taking care of me anyway. The government got me. So the women don't look at the man the way that the man should be looked at. They don't look at the man as being qawama. They look at him as just being there, someone else that they got to feed. So, okay, bye. We don't need you. So if the man is taking care of the woman like the men are supposed to do, right? The woman feels a need for him. So the Arab women, they felt a need for their husband. That who's going to protect her if she don't have him? Again, that's another problem we have today. The women don't feel protected by the men. Something happens to 9 times out of 10, right? Think about this. You answer this question for me. And the ladies, you answer this question too. If someone broke into your house right now, right? What would your first honest reaction be? Huh? What would your first honest reaction be? Hold on. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Any of you. What would your action be? They broke in already. Go to the male person in the house? What would be your first automatic reaction? Huh? I can't hear you. Speak up. What would you say? Protect yourself? Honestly, most of you will call the police. 911 would be your first reaction, right? No, the first reaction most people are going to do today is call 911. They don't. That's the problem. The first reaction that the average woman is going to have, and even some men, right, it's going to be call 911. Right? Oh, man. I don't know about us. We grew up in the hood. We know that 911 is not going to save you. By the time 911 comes, you're dead. It's a home invasion. That's right, yeah. Police ain't going to get there for at least 10 minutes. So what you supposed to do? You're supposed to put the work in. And then call 911 when they find the guy at the end of the, That's when you call 911. But the reality is nowadays what? People are going to call 911. Why? Because they don't have any real respect that the men that are with them are going to take care of them and protect them. They think more that the police are going to protect them. Is that correct? Am I making this up? No, right? So again, there's not a real... The husband don't even have armor. Yeah, the men, they don't see the man as being somebody who can defend them. So the point being is that we have to do what? We have to be the men that the women feel they need and they can't do without. Do you understand how the women work? They have to need us. They have to need us. And we can't be the man that she looks at you like, I got my own job, and I get food stamps, and what do I need you for? I can exchange. I'm better off by myself or trying to get somebody else. Quiet, you guys. Hey, quiet. Now I'm now I'm true like the brother you mentioned. Some, unfortunately, and this is sad, some women like to, may Allah protect us, but some women like to go in and out of marriages. And that's not a normal characteristic where a woman wants to get divorced. I saw brother such and such, they married, but they're like, man, brother such and such looks sort of, nice. No, astaghfirullah. So realistically speaking, we're talking about real issues today, right? Sometimes, wallahi, that the lady she married and she has, whatever. Anyway, so the point of what I'm saying is that we have to be as men, it's a two-sided thing, right? Always two sides to the coin. As men, we have to be men so that they feel like they need us. Like, he takes care of me. If I do divorce him, now she's like, man, I haven't worked since forever. If I don't have this man, I'm going to have to go get me a job. And, whatever. So we have to be stronger, inshallah. Tayyib? And for the women, right, they have to know that there's quality. The quality of a woman's life, right, has to do with her being with less men, not more men. Less men, not more men. Nobody wants, right, even amongst the boys, right? Let's ask the boys a question. The girls, you can hear them answer, right? Do you want the girl that's famous on Snapchat? I'm asking the boys. Do you want to marry the girl? Because the girls don't know this. They think we're liars. So let me ask the boys so that the girls can hear this question, because they're doing things that try to attract you guys and don't realize that it's actually running you away from them. So do you want the girl that's on Snapchat dancing, putting makeup on? She has her hijab back here so you can see her little curly hair right there, right? She wants to show that off to everyone. Is that the girl you want to marry? That you want to bring to your mother? And your mother says, what? Not her? I seen her on Snapchat. And I heard about her. Is that the girl that you want to marry? No, right? So pay attention to that. Girls, they all agreed. Huh? Oh, they said they won't say yes in front of us? Right in front of me? They're going to give me the answer I want to hear? Oh, so they want that girl? No, listen. Okay, so who else would you like? No, that's what I'm saying. The good for the good and the bad for the bad. Even the ones, right? No, listen, I'm telling you, even the worst boys, right? Even the street guys. I'm telling you, even from amongst street guys, right? OGs will tell you, right? They'll tell you, this is the lesson. I'm going to teach you a lesson, inshallah, today. Pay close attention. Guys is like, this is what guys will say. The girl who's dancing and singing on Snapchat, yeah, they like to make them their girlfriend, but never the wife. Never the wife. Yes, they'll give her a lot of attention. They'll say how cute she is and all this. They'll try the haram is for her. They'll never make her the wife. Why? Because his friends seen her dancing too. His cousin seen her dancing too. His brother was watching her too. He looks at her Snapchat. He sees all of his friends are her friends. Whoa. That means all of them seeing these pictures? He's not going to want her. Do you understand that? This is a fact. Even the worst guy in the street, walking on the street, he's not going to, if he had a choice between the girl who's been with the whole neighborhood or the girl who has been hidden in the house, he's going to try to get the girl that's hidden in the house. Nobody wants the girl that's been exposed to everyone. Nobody. Even the worst of the boys. Now, we can't leave the girls hanging. Girls, do you want the boy that's on Snapchat talking to all the girls? Oh, they said, oh, they're quiet. Huh? What's the answer? No, they don't want him, right? Because she's like, well, he talks to every girl. Right? So there has to be a balance. They want the guy that's quiet, that's not talking to everyone. So pay attention, right? So you're doing things that are running people away from you to get what you really want to get, inshallah. Tayyib? So pay attention to that. That's very important. The 10th lady, she says, Zawji Malik, wa ma Malik, Malikun khayrun min dalik. MashaAllah. Listen to the line she says. She says, Zawji Malikun wa ma Malikun, Malikun khayrun min dalik. Or better, she says, Zawji Malik wa ma Malik, Malikun khayrun min dalik. له إبل كثيرات المبارك قليلات المسارح إذا سمعنا الصوت المزهر أيقن أنهم حوالك. MashaAllah. It's all poetry. They're talking in just poetic language, MashaAllah. Look, the Sheikh here, he says online, He says, even if you do get her, you can't trust her. The girl that she's famous on Snap, seriously. You checking her phone every 5 seconds, she get a Snapchat alert, you worried about what's that? Right? You can't trust her. So nobody wants to live that type of life. Now, she says, my husband is Malik. And what is that I can say about Malik? Malik is better than that. He has many camels that are kept ready to be slaughtered for guests, and a few that roam the pastures. If they hear the sound of the lute, they know for certain that they are about to be slaughtered. She said, what can we say about Malik? Right? It's good they don't ask our wives these questions. We might be in like the first 3-4 categories. Huh? What did you say? Huh? Oh, what did she say about Malik? We wish that we were like Malik, but if you ask them, we might end up being like number 3, number 2, number 1. Scrawny, right? The camel that got no good meat. They say, when we said the first one, they said, oh, that's him. That's Abu Mahmoud right there. Inshallah, I'm Abu Zara. I would like to think that I'm Abu Zara. No. So, she said about Malik, my husband is Malik, and what is that I can say about Malik? Malik is better than that. He has many camels that are kept ready to be slaughtered for guests. He's always ready to be generous. And a few that he lets roam the pasture. So he has camels that are specifically just for the guests. And camels are expensive, so understand that. If they hear the sound of the lute, they know for certain that they are about to be slaughtered. So, means that this happens a lot. He's always feeding the guests. The next, he says, Qalat al-Hadeeth al-Ashara, Zawji, Abu Zara. And, this is the description that, inshallah, we like to hope that we are Abu Zara. It depends on the day that you ask the wife if you're Abu Zara or not. On some days, on the wedding day is the only day that we become Abu Zara. Every day after that, he was Abu Zara for one day. Qalat al-Hadeeth al-Ashara, Zawji, Abu Zara. She says, فَمَا أَبُو زَرَعَ أَنَاسَ مِنْ حُلِيٍّ أُدَنِيَّ وملأ من شحم عضدي وبجحني فبجحت إلي نفسي وجدني في أهل غنيمة بشق فجعلني في أهل صهيل وأطيط ودائس ومنهك فعنده أقول فلا أقبح وأرقد فأتصبح وأسرب فأتقمح أم أبي زرع فما أم أبي زرع عقومها رداح وبيتها فساح ابن أبي زرع فما ابن أبي زرع مضجعه كمثل شطبة ويشبعه ذراع الجفرة بنت أبي زرع فما بنت أبي زرع طوع أبيها وطوع أميها وملء كسائها وغيد جارتها جارية أبي زرع فما جارية أبي زرع لا تبث حديثنا تبثيثا ولا تنقط ميرتنا تنكيثا ولا تملأ بيتنا تعشيشا. قالت خرج أبو زرع والأوطاب تمخض فلقي امرأة معها ولدان لها كالفهدين يلعبان من تحت خصرها برمنتين عفوا فتلقني ونكح فنكحت بعده رجل سريا ركب شريا وأخذ خطيا وراح علي نعما ثريا وأعطاني من كل شيء أعطانيه ما بلغ أصغر آنية أبي زرع. قالت عائشة فقال لي رسول الله كنت لك كأبي زرع لأم زرع. الله الله. Now I'm telling you. So now here's the story of Abu Zara. Pay attention to Abu Zara. Huh? You like Abu Zara? Be like Abu Zara. Now. So listen to Abu Zara's story, right? Wait, let's tell this story. We'll tell this story at a time when the ladies aren't here. That's better, right? They can't. Nah, bismillah. So Abu Zara's story, she says, my husband is Abu Zara. And what is that I can say about Abu Zara? Pay attention to what she said. He has made my ears dangle with jewelry. Understand? Heavy, she put heavy jewels in the ears, right? She says, fill my upper arms with fat. He fed her good. You know, the Arabs, they used to like plump ladies, right? So he said, fed her good. Make sure she ate a lot, right? And honored me until I felt proud of myself. He found me among the poor shepherds in dire straits and then placed me among the owners of horses. She said, he found me as a poor girl and placed me amongst the people who own horses. So, you know, she's thankful. And that shows you her gratitude that he found her with. Camels and cows that trample crops and workers who thresh seeds. In his presence I can speak, for I shall not be scolded or rebuked. So he says that, you know, he lets me say what I want to say. You know, he doesn't make me stay quiet. He lets me talk around him. I can enjoy myself. And when I sleep till late in the morning. He don't even make me get up early to work. And when I drink until I satisfy my thirst. The mother of Abu Zara, what is it I can say about the mother of Abu Zara? Her sacks are heavy with provision and her house is spacious. The son of Abu Zara, and what is that I can say about the son of Abu Zara? His bed is like a palm stick stripped of its leaves because he is very slender. And he is satiated by the foreleg of a lamb. He eat a little bit and be okay. The daughter of Abu Zara is what is that can I say about the daughter of Abu Zara? She's obedient to her father and to her mother. She fills her clothes, and I mean, she has some weight on it. Again, that's the Arabs, they like, you know, some heavy ladies. And nor does she leave the litter scattered in our house. Oh, no. Excuse me. She fills her clothes and enrages her female neighbors because she's so beautiful. The maid servant of Abu Zara, what is it I can say about the maid servant of Abu Zara? She does not broadcast what we say in our conversations. She's not running around telling the business of the household. Nor does she waste our provisions, nor does she leave the trash scattered in the house. She then said one day it so happened, quiet. She said one day it so happened that Abu Zara went out Abu Zara he went out one day at the time when the milk skins were being churned, like to make butter. And he ran into a woman who had with her 2 children who were like 2 leopards playing under her waist with 2 pomegranates. On seeing her, he divorced me and married her. Thereafter, I married a nobleman who rode a sturdy horse and held a spear in his hand and brought home to me ample livestock and used to say to me, eat Zara and feed your family and relatives. But if I were to gather everything that he gave me, it would not amount to the smallest of the things that Abu Zara gave to me. So the Prophet ﷺ, Aisha said to the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said to Aisha after that I have been to you as Abu Zara was to Zara. Except that in another place it says that I'm not going to leave you. So, inshallah, may Allah make us better and be similar to that. Amin. Say Amin. Amin. Tayyib, let's keep going. Hadith number 255. Babu ma ja'a fi sifati nawmi Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The chapter of how the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to sleep. حدثنا محمد بن مثنى أخبرنا عبد الرحمن بن مهدي أخبرنا إسرائيل عن أبي إسحاق عن عبد الله بن يزيد عن البراء بن عازب رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا أخذ مضجعه وضع كفه اليمنى تحت خده الأيمن وقال ربي قيني عذابك يوم تبعث عبادك. The Prophet ﷺ, when he would sleep with his right hand under his cheek. He would sleep like this, with his right hand under his cheek. And he would say before he goes to sleep, "O my Lord, protect us from your punishment on the day that you raise your slaves." Hadith number 255, again, حدثنا محمد بن المثنى أخبرنا عبد الرحمن أخبرنا إسرائيل عن أبي إسحاق عن عبيدة عن عبد الله مثله وقال يوم تجمع عبادك. Hadith number 256. حدثنا محمود بن غيلان أخبرنا عبد الرزاق أخبرنا سفيان عن عبد الملك بن عمير عن ربعي بن حراش عن حذيفة رضي الله عنه قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أوى إلى فراشه قال اللهم باسمك أموت وأحيا وإذا استيقظ قال الحمد لله الذي أحيانا بعد ما أمات وإليه النشور. Hadith number 257. حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد أخبرنا المفضل بن فضالة عن أكيل عن الزهري عن عروة عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا أوى إلى فراشه كل ليلة جمع كفيه فنفث فيهما وقرأ فيهما قل هو الله أحد وقل أعوذ برب الفلق وقل أعوذ برب الناس ثم مسح بهما ما استطاع من جسده يبدأ بهما رأسه ووجهه وما أقبل من جسده يصنع ذلك 3 مرات. When the Prophet ﷺ would go to sleep, and it comes in this narration that when he would go to sleep, he would take in his hands and recite and blow in it, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ, and he would wipe over his whole body with this. Starting with his head and his face, and come down. He would do this 3 times. 3 times he would do this before he would go to sleep. That was his habit. حديث 258. حدثنا محمد بن بشار أخبرنا عبد الرحمن بن مهدي أخبرنا سفيان عن سلمة بن كهيل عن كريب عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نام حتى نفخ وكان إذا نام نفخ فأتاه بلال رضي الله عنه فآذنه بالصلاة فقام وصلى ولم يتوضأ. وفي الحديث قصة. حديث نمبر 259. حدثنا إسحاق بن منصور أخبرنا عفان وأخبرنا حماد بن سلمة حدثنا ثابت عن أنس بن مالك رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا أوى إلى فراشه قال الحمد لله الذي أطعمنا وسقانا وكفانا وأوانا فكم ممن لا كافي له ولا مؤوي. حديث نمبر 260. حدثنا الحسين بن محمد الجريري حدثنا سليمان بن حرب حدثنا حماد بن سلمة عن حميد عن بكر بن عبد الله المزني عن عبد الله بن رباح عن أبي قتادة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا عرس بالليل اضطجع على شقه الأيمن وإذا عرس قبيل الصبح نصب ذراعه ووضع رأسه على كفه. The Prophet ﷺ, if he was sleeping and he was traveling, he went to go lay down for sleep real quick. He was lay down on his right side. He would lay down on his right side, and if it was right before Fajr, he would lay down, but he would lay down and put his hand like this, so he's not really comfortable, so he doesn't sleep for long. He won't fall into a deep sleep because Fajr is close. Babu ma ja'a fi ibadati Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Hadith number 261. حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد وبشر بن معاذ قال أخبرنا أبو عوانة عن زياد بن علاقة عن المغيرة بن الشعبة رضي الله عنه قال صلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى انتفخت قدماه فقيل له أتكلف هذا وقد غفر الله لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر قال أفلا أكون عبدا شكورا. The Messenger صلى الله عليه وسلم used to pray so much that his feet would swell up and crack. So it was said to him, Ya Rasulullah, are you going to burden yourself like this when Allah forgave your previous and future sins? And he said, should I not be a grateful servant? May Allah make us like him, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hadith number 262. حدثنا أبو عمار الحسين بن حريث أخبرنا الفضل بن موسى عن محمد بن عمرو عن أبي سلمة عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي حتى ترم قدماه قال فقيل له تفعل هذا وقد جاءك أن الله تعالى قد غفر لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر قال أفلا أكون عبدا شكورا. Hadith number 263. حدثنا عيسى بن عثمان بن عيسى بن عبد الرحمن الرملي أخبرنا عمي يحيى بن عيسى الرملي عن الأعمش عن أبي صالح عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقوم يصلي حتى تنتفخ قدماه فقيل له يا رسول الله تفعل هذا وقد غفر الله لك ما تقدم من ذنبك وما تأخر قال فلا أكون عبدا شكورا. Hadith number 264. حدثنا محمد بن بشار أخبرنا محمد بن جعفر أخبرنا شعبة عن أبي إسحاق عن الأسود بن يزيد قال سألت عائشة رضي الله عنها عن الصلاة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بالليل فقالت كان ينام أول الليل ثم يقوم فإذا كان من السحر أوتر ثم أتى بفراشه فإن كان له حاجة ألم بأهله فإذا سمع الأذان وثب فإن كان جنبا أفاض عليه من الماء وإلا توضأ وخرج إلى الصلاة the Prophet ﷺ, his night prayer, somebody asked Aisha radiallahu anha, how was the night prayer, how was the worship of the Prophet ﷺ, meaning at nighttime? She said, the Prophet ﷺ used to sleep in the beginning of the night. Then he would get up. And if it was at the time a little bit before Fajr, he would offer witr. He wouldn't pray too long. He would just offer witr. Then he would go back to his bed. And if he wanted to spend some time with his wives, then he would do that. And if he didn't at that time and he heard the adhan, then he would get up really quick. And if he was in a state of janaba, meaning that he spent some time with his wives, then he would pour water, he would take a ghusl. And if he wasn't, then he would just make wudu and go out to the salat. Hadith number 265. حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد عن مالك بن أنس حاء وحدثنا إسحاق بن موسى الأنصاري أخبرنا معن عن مالك عن مخرمة بن سليمان عن كريب عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما أنه أخبره أنه بات عند ميمونة رضي الله عنها وهي خالته قال فاضطجعت في عرض الوسادة واتجع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أهله في طولها فنام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى إذا انتصف الليل أو قبله بقليل أو بعده بقليل استيقظ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فجعل يمسح النوم عن وجهه ثم قرأ الأشر الآيات الخواتم من سورة آل عمران ثم قام إلى شن معلق فتوضأ منها فأحسن وضوءه ثم قام يصلي. قال عبد الله بن عباس فقمت إلى جنبه فوضع الرسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يده اليمنى على رأسه ثم أخذ بأذني اليمنى ففتلها فصلى ركعتين ثم ركعتين ثم ركعتين ثم ركعتين ثم ركعتين ثم ركعتين قال معن 6 مرات ثم أوتر ثم اضطجع حتى جاءه المؤذن فقام فصلى ركعتين خفيفتين ثم خرج فصلى الصبح. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, he said, I spent the night one night with Maymuna, who was my aunt and the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was with the Prophet ﷺ. And he said the Prophet ﷺ went to bed in the middle. The Prophet ﷺ went to bed on a like a cushion, and I went to bed on he went to bed like on the wide part of it, and the Prophet ﷺ took the length part with his wife. So they all were like on the same cushion. For Nama Rasulullah ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ, he went to sleep until the middle of the night, or before it a little bit, or a little bit after that, somewhere around that. So the Prophet ﷺ woke up at that time. And then he wiped the sleep out of his eyes. You know when a person has like the sleep in his eyes, he wiped it out of his eyes. Then he recited the last 10 ayats of Surah Al Imran. Then he stood up to go to the water. The shanil is like a water vessel that they keep water in the skin. They didn't have sinks. So they went to this thing to get the hanging water vessel. And he made wudu from it. Then he made a good wudu. Then he stood up to pray. Abdullah ibn Abbas said, I got up too on his left side of him to pray with him. So the Prophet took his right hand. And he said he twisted my ear. He twisted my ear and then brought me to the other side. For Salah Raka'ataini, so he said he prayed 6 units of 2 rak'ahs, so 12 rak'ahs total. And then he made witr. Then he went back to his bed for a little bit, and the mu'adhin came, and he came and prayed 2 small light rak'ahs for Fajr. Then he prayed the Salat of Fajr. حديث 266 حدثنا أبو كريب محمد بن العلاء أخبرنا وكيع حدثنا شعبة عن أبي حمزة عن ابن عباس رضي الله عنهما قال كان النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي من الليل 13 ركعة. حدثنا حديث number 267 حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد أخبرنا أبو عوانة عن قتادة عن زرارة بن أوفى عن سعد بن هشام عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان إذا لم يصلي بالليل منعه من ذلك النوم أو غلبته عيناه صلى من النهار 12 ركعة. The Prophet ﷺ, if he used to miss if he missed the prayer at nighttime because he became too sleepy and his eyes overtook him, or sleep prevented him from that, then he would pray 12 raka'at of salat during the daytime if he didn't make the nighttime salat. Hadith number 268. حدثنا محمد بن العلاء أخبرنا أبو أسامة عن هشام بن حسان عن محمد بن سيرين عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا قام أحدكم من الليل فليفتتح صلاته بركعتين خفيفتين. If you get up to pray at night, then let you start the night prayer with 2 light salawat, 2 light raka'ahs first. Hadith number 269. حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد عن مالك بن أنس رضي الله عنه مالك بن أنس عن مالك بن أنس حاء وأخبرنا إسحاق بن موسى أخبرنا معن أخبرنا مالك عن عبد الله بن أبي بكر عن أبيه أن عبد الله بن قيس بن مخرمة أخبره عن زيد بن خالد الجهني رضي الله عنه أنه قال لأرمقن صلاة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال فتوسدت عتبته أو فسطاطه فصلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ركعتين خفيفتين ثم صلى ركعتين طويلتين ثم صلى ركعتين وهما دون اللتين قبلهما ثم صلى ركعتين وهما دون اللتين قبلهما ثم صلى ركعتين دون اللتين قبلهما ثم صلى ركعتين وهما دون اللتين قبلهما ثم أوتر فذلك 13 ركعة. حديث 280. حدثنا إسحاق بن موسى أخبرنا معن أخبرنا مالك عن سعيد بن أبي سعيد المقبوري عن أبي سلمة بن عبد الرحمن أنه أخبره أنه سأل عائشة رضي الله عنها كيف كانت صلاة رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في رمضان فقالت ما كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ليزيد في رمضان ولا في غيره على 11 ركعة يصلي 4 فلا تسأل عن حسنهن وطولهن ثم يصلي 4 لا تسأل عن حسنهن وطولهن ثم يصلي 3. قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها قلت يا رسول الله أتنام قبل أن توتر فقال يا عائشة إن عيني تنامان ولا ينام قلبي. حديث number 281. حدثنا إسحاق بن موسى أخبرنا معن أخبرنا مالك عن ابن شهاب عن عروة عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يصلي من الليل 11 ركعة يوتر منها بواحدة فإذا فرغ منها اضطجع على شقه الأيمن. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم used to pray 11 rak'ahs at night, she says. She used to pray 11 rak'at at night. And in one narration, the one that went before it, she asked the Prophet ﷺ, are you not going to pray witr before you go to sleep? It's a good reminder for the women to use for their husbands, their brothers, their sisters. You know, the woman reminded, and the husband is also reminded that the Prophet ﷺ went to sleep before making salatul witr. Or he would not let the night go by normally without making salatul witr. Normally. Hadith number 281. What time does it say on the thing for Isha? $9:20. Okay. So we were able to make it up to hadith number 281, and we will continue until we finish. Tamam? How many hadiths are there? Have you ever read this many hadiths before? This is amazing, right? It's a lot of hadiths, mashallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. As a rule, right? As a rule, I'm going to teach you a quick benefit. Don't look at the end, just enjoy the travel. Don't ask how many miles are left. Just enjoy the trip. Look out the window. See the stars, look at the trees. See trees you've never seen before. But don't worry about how many more miles are left because then you start getting tired. Are we there yet? No. Just enjoy the trip. Right, Abdul? Enjoy the trip. Only person who needs to know how many miles left is the driver. I know how many miles are left. The GPS. Don't worry about the rest, inshallah. We'll get there eventually. That's all we need to know. Inshallah. Oh, they said that we want to pray and come back. You want to pray and come back?
Yeah.
Oh, man. They got me gassed up, huh? Pray and come back?
Yeah.